Hi, my name is Elia and I'm a transgender musical theater performer.
Hello, my name is Oliver and I'm a trans guy who make videos about LGBTQIA+ people where they get to talk about anything that they want that somehow relates to them being queer. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a long time, since musical theatre is such a huge passion for me and something that I once saw myself working with in the future. But being trans puts an end to that dream for me, and probably a lack of talent as well. And therefore, I am so glad that I got the chance to meet and chat with Elia.
Hi, my name is Elia. I'm a transgender musical theater performer from Gothenburg, Sweden.
Just so that we're all on the same page, what is musical theatre?
Musical theater is an art form where you combine singing, dancing, and acting, and sometimes playing instruments as well, combined into one, usually on stage in any kind of shape or form, either like a kind of play on stage, like a whole ensemble, a big space with lots of people, lots of dancing, lots of acting, and it's just awesome. I just love musical theater so much.
And he's loved it for quite some time.
I watched We Will Rock You in Stockholm when I was like 10 or 11 or something, and I was like, whoa, you can do this? This is awesome. And then when I grew up and I was a bit older, like 2016 or 15 or something, my family went to the UK, to the West End, and we watched Wicked. And my eyes was just opened. That was really the moment where I was like, you can work with this, you can become this, you can perform on stage, and this is what you do, this is what you work with. That was the moment where I was like, this is amazing. I want to do something like this in the future. But at that time, I wasn't out as trans at all. I was a closeted little transgender man, and I didn't see myself being on that stage like those performers were, which is very heartbreaking as a young person, to not being able to see yourself on a big stage. And how can you imagine yourself working as a musical theater performer if you can't see anybody like yourself on that stage? And since that day, or since I was introduced to musicals, I've been openly looking for performers like me, and more people show up every day, and it makes my heart so happy every time I see a performer that uses they/them pronouns, a performer who's openly trans, like Alexandra Billings and James Rose and all of these amazing people. Every time I see transgender performers or non-binary actors or non-binary dancers, every time I see representation, my heart gets a little bit fuller, and I think that the world is a better place.
Elia is currently studying to become a musical theatre performer.
I'm studying right now at a school in Spain called Institute of the Arts Barcelona. I study musical theatre. I'm studying for a Bachelor of Honors in musical theatre. The thing that got me the most excited about that school was filling in the form, where I, for the first time since studying musical theatre or wanting to go into this field, I saw my gender identity being in a form. And I was like, that means that there is a place for me at this school. Since day one at that school, it's been great. My teachers have been asking the right questions, and I've also been really open that it isn't on the table right now that I start hormones. I'm discovering myself every single day, more and more, discovering my voice, widening my vocal range as much as possible, and my teachers are the most supportive ever. They've all been like, we'll find you something. They've been really problem solving about that as well. Like, oh, if a song doesn't fit your vocal range, we'll transpose it. We'll find something else that works for you.
Maybe this doesn't seem like that much, but the musical theatre world is generally not that flexible.
For me, the most binary thing about the musical theatre industry is vocal range and naming the different vocal ranges. My lowest note, for example, is like a D flat 3, which is kind of low, to a C6, which is kind of high. For vocal ranges, there's soprano, mezzo-soprano, alto for women usually, or for girls. For boys, it's usually tenor, baritone, bass. And usually a tenor is a certain kind of vocal range, it goes from one note to the other. And I can take higher notes than a usual tenor because I'm not on hormones and I was assigned female at birth, but I can't take the lower notes that a tenor can. Every single time I have to name my vocal range, I don't know what to put down. As a trans man, trying to find yourself, trying to name, what am I? What vocal range do I have? What do I name it? There is no answer to that.
And this is not only problematic for trans people.
Because there are also like cis people that have lower ranges than a usual alto, for example, like a cis woman, for example. But there is no like good word for it. And it's so binary, and I, as a trans person, have to make up my own story. I have to make up what my vocal range is myself, which is something that I shouldn't have to do. I have to make up stuff myself just to fit into this gender binary that doesn't fit me. And it's like why I'm so outspoken about this, because we need to change this whole system of vocal ranges. And there's been a lot of research about it as well. There are a few books that I've gotten tips about that are like kind of dispersing this whole vocal range thing. It's like, oh, here's a few extra ones that we can add, which is great. The science is really going forward in that, but we as trans people, as transgender, as non-binary, whatever we are, we shouldn't have to make it up ourselves.
But Elia can also see good things being trans in this field.
But there's also like a real power in that as well, that like I'm the only one that's like myself. And I will make my own spot in this world no matter how much it takes. I deserve to be on those stages like my cis colleagues. I deserve to be there because I put in as much effort as they do every single day.
For Elia, it's specifically important to be vocal about being a trans guy who's not on testosterone.
For me, hormones is not on the table. I got my diagnosis in Sweden. I've gotten top surgery. I was really lucky and really privileged that I got help as soon as I did, because right now the queues are insanely long. For me, it's like if I wanted to go on hormones, I could. But for me, I don't have a lot of dysphoria over my voice. I have a little bit about my speaking voice, but not a lot about my singing voice. And my singing voice is what makes me me right now. I can take higher notes. I can belt higher notes than my cis counterparts, for example, especially the guys that I work with. And my singing voice is what I love the most about my voice. And every day I discover more about it and I get to figure it out more. And I have trans friends of mine that have gone through HRT, and the HRT changed their voice so much that they had to relearn how to sing really completely. That when they take a note that they think is a C, it ends up being an A or an E. That you have to relearn your whole instrument, which you've gone through maybe your whole life, or like 15 years, or 18 years, or 25 years, or whenever you start HRT. You have to relearn your whole instrument. But I've also known trans people that have it really easy. And it's like, to each their own. You get to relearn a whole instrument, which is also exciting. But for me, that isn't on the table right now. I enjoy my singing voice, and I think I can evolve it a lot without being on HRT. If that ends up being my future, that I'm like, yes, I really want to start HRT, I'll try that way. But right now, that isn't for me.
Elia has had a hard time finding representation.
It's been really hard finding people that's not on HRT with like voices like mine and that look like me. Like, of course, I'm privileged enough that I'm white, I'm cis passing most of the time, but finding people that sound like me and looks like me on stage is really hard still. And it's sad that I haven't seen people like me on stage, but I also look back at the young, closeted trans guy that I was, trying desperately to find people like me on stage and becoming that person that I needed at the time. And that's really empowering, really. And it's been like what kept bringing me forward to talk more about trans issues, to keep being open about who I was. And I'm extremely privileged that I can sit here today with a wonderful family that accept me, when I know that there are so many people around the world that don't have that privilege. And I can be this open about who I am without having to worry too much about violence or stuff like that. So I'm becoming the person that the younger me wanted to see. And that's what keeps me going every single day. So it's like, I'm becoming the role model that I needed so that younger trans people in the future can see, oh, there's someone that looks like me, there's someone that sounds like me, and make sure that those younger trans kids know that we deserve to be on those stages too. We deserve to be on those big stages around the world. We deserve it as much as anyone else.
And some final happy words from Elia.
I'm really happy. I've been out for 5 years now, since 2018 when I came out to everyone on social media. And I've worked every single day to become a better person and to feel more comfortable being myself, being open. I'm really happy to be here. Every day that I wake up and I get to do what I love is the best.
If you enjoyed watching that video, please like, comment, subscribe and share the video. I really appreciate you showing your love in that way. If you also want to support the channel financially, that's possible via Patreon, but really no pressure. See you next time!